So, just a few things I want to say about this ongoing hashtag to boycott Mulan, the Disney live action film. Now, this comes down to the fact that its star, Liu Yifei, last year infamously voiced her support for the Hong Kong police. This was at a time when the protests there were very tense. There was a lot of violence. And Hong Kong police were being accused of excessive brutality. Now, I'm not neutral when it comes to the Hong Kong protests. I'm 110% with the principles of the protesters. I don't agree with all the tactics. There was some vandalism and some stupid things that some of the protesters done, but this was only after months of peaceful protests that the mainland state television ignored. Um, but I hold the same principle I do with any protest. You have to be aware of good optics. Nevertheless, there was irrefutably some things that were being done by the Hong Kong police that really put them to shame. And so for her to come out and support that, you could see why it would be provocative. Um, I've sort of mixed feelings about this though. On one hand, I'm thinking, yeah, there is strong ground to boycott the film, because the story of Mulan is meant to be about heroine. The actual origins of the story of Mulan may not even be Chinese, they may be Mongolian, but there's some uncertainty over that. Nevertheless, it is something that's tied with Chinese culture, and there have been numerous adaptations of Mulan over the years. This era of Disney doing live action films is getting a lot of attention, and they're being compared to that period of the 90s, so-called Disney Renaissance. Now, I've nothing to say about her acting abilities. I honestly don't know um, what she is like as an actress. Um, Here's the difficulty. How do you apply sending out a strong message to an attack on Western principles, whilst also maintaining Western principles such as the right to free speech? So, where I'm uneasy about some of this is it sounds a little bit like cancel culture, and I'm very critical of cancel culture within the Western context. Now, Liu Yifei was born in Wuhan, but she has American citizenship. She voiced an opinion. It's a controversial opinion, but it's an opinion that she has a right to. Certainly, if I had been beaten by the Hong Kong police, or in the case of female protesters, if I'd been sexually accosted by the Hong Kong police, which was one allegation, I would be furious with that opinion. I would not go to see the film. Incidentally, this thing about paying $20 to watch it on streaming services sounds like madness to me, but that's not really here or there. I think a lot of it, like a lot of the film industry, has been affected by the COVID restrictions. But it isn't just the lead star's opinions that are controversial. The film has also apparently filmed in Xinjiang, which of course is under the spotlight for the treatment of weaker people. Um, so one part of me is against the idea of cancelling her just because of her opinion, even though it's not an opinion I agree with. However, and this is a big however, this isn't just another celebrity having an opinion. Um, I think that what we see with things like this is an example of China's so-called soft power playing out. Now, ultimately, it's just a film, it's just for entertainment. But I don't think anyone should be under any illusion as to how China would. I mean, it has to be said this is a Disney production, it's not a Chinese state production. So, in that sense, it's a Western film. Um, However, most analysts would say that Disney is kowtowing to the mainland. And given a choice between the mainland and Hong Kong, I think it's obvious that Disney will choose the mainland in terms of revenue and in terms of which side it wants to pander to. Now, it isn't just Hong Kongers that have voiced dissent on this. Young Thais have as well. In fact, numerous young Asians from various countries, all part of the Milk Tea Alliance, which is a movement I'm very sympathetic to, have shared this hashtag boycott Mulan. Um, I think that people have a choice whether they go to see it or not. If it does fall flat, then it may well be a result of this. But it's also been pointed out she is the lead star, but the director's a New Zealander. New Zealand's a country with a very good human rights record for the most part. Um, so although the story is Chinese and the lead actress is Chinese American, it's an international production. So maybe it's wrong to just think boycott Mulan is a swipe at China because it's a collective effort. On the other hand, I do think that China needs to be polarized on the world stage. I think that we cannot normalize how China uses international influence. I do think there needs to be a message sent out that when China pushes its way around, then soft power is going to be affected as well. So, for example, this will be used by the Chinese state as a sort of expression of, I don't want to say Chinese cultural supremacy, but it will be used to normalize how China is seen in the eyes of the world, and I don't think it should be. Um, we've seen in recent years, for example, Wolf Warrior, I believe is the title of the film, a series of action films which are very much about showing Chinese nationalism, and that's even extended to the vernacular of diplomacy with so-called Wolf Warrior diplomats. Um, I don't know what the film's like. I watched the original Disney film from 1998. I quite enjoyed it. Wasn't my favorite Disney film from that era. That was Beauty and the Beast, but I quite enjoyed it. It was quite good. So I don't know how this compares purely in cinematic terms. I've heard people give positive reviews, but like I say, we can't underestimate the soft power aspect going on here. It's a bit like, and again, I have to stress this is a Disney production, it's not a Chinese state production. If it was a Chinese state production, I'd be seriously thinking about joining the boycott thing. I mean, I'm not going to see it anyway because I'm not going to pay $20 for streaming. That's crazy to me. But there's things that if you look at the Confucius Institute, that would be an example of soft power that can be misused, that I think is being misused. On the surface, it sounds innocent enough. It's about cross-cultural values, but I think that it's pretty obvious that institutes have an ulterior motive um, of promoting party ideology. Um, I don't think the world should underestimate what the Chinese state will do to try and get global influence. I do think there is a sort of Cold War going on between the United States and China right now, and by extension, China and the West. China doesn't have very many friends in the world right now, and a lot of that is its own making, its own belligerent behavior and arrogance and jingoism. So I think any attempts by China to portray itself in a positive light should be taken with some skepticism. Now, that's not to say that Chinese culture should be demonized and stigmatized, but put it this way: if we look at other totalitarian regimes in history, whether it be the Germany of the 30s or the Soviet Union of the 30s, um, history shows that when you normalize totalitarianism, it encourages totalitarianism. I do not think that China, as a government, not talking so much the country, I don't think as a government it should be normalized. Now, people will say it's just a film, and that's true, but make no mistake about it, there will be Chinese nationalists using this to promote their jingoistic mentality. Okay, you might say that's just a rebuke to those who are attacking it. But I think this gets into the realm of soft power politics. I mean, in theory, it shouldn't be about politics. It's just a film. It's set in ancient China. You know, it's not even like modern history. But there is definitely a concerted effort by the Chinese state to push a cultural supremacy. We see this within China with what they're doing in Xinjiang. So I think it's right that the world's a bit wary of it. Um, so let's see what happens. I don't think that I would just say this about the boycott Mulan hashtag. I think people, if they feel strongly, they can choose not to go to see it. What they shouldn't do though is prevent others from going to see it. That would be wrong. Or shame others for going to see it. That would also be wrong. However, I would say this about Liu Yifei. She has a right to her opinion, but she needs to accept that that is a controversial opinion. I don't think she should be cancelled. I don't think she should, for example, be forced into a position where she's not getting any work, that sort of thing. However, I do think she should be challenged on those sentiments. For example, someone should say to her, look, you made these comments last year, do you stand by them, even with the evidence of police brutality? And if she says yes, then the way I see it is if celebrities are going to put themselves into politics, if they're going to come out with political opinions or socio-political opinions, then they're putting themselves into that arena. So she should expect some rebuke. However, that doesn't mean that she should, she should find it difficult to get work or anything like that. I do think she should answer for her comments and answer to people who have been affected by it. Um, anyway, that's my take.